What's up, everybody? I'm back today with another video, and I have to admit that story times are my favorite. I love doing story times. I had actually said that I was gonna do a continuance to my prison stories. So today I'm gonna be bringing y'all a little of my experience after getting released out of prison and how I was able to move forward through this experience. I always give a little disclaimer before I start because sometimes there's a little bit of everything. There may be a little bit of cussing and there may be a lot of God in this, and a lot of both. I hope I can keep it real with everybody without any judgment. Anyways, if this is the first time you've been through my channel, welcome to my channel. I hope you come around to enjoying some of these story times. I made playlists, so I'm just gonna add this one to my playlist on story times because I know a lot of people just follow me because of that. So I was released in 2005 and again in 2007 because I did do 2 different sentences. I did some state time and then I did some fed time, and both times I got 24-month sentences. So I did do a little bit of time from 2004 to 2007. I was deported, so maybe this may be a little different to other stories about, being released from prison, but in my experience I was deported. And of course, there's a little judgment when you get out. That's something that we all face. If you've ever done time, when you get out, there's gonna be a lot of side-eyeing, there's gonna be a lot of doubting, there's gonna be some judgment, there's gonna be all of that, right? At the time, I remember hearing a lot of people just literally say, this is it for you, like there's nothing else, especially here in Mexico, like there's nothing for you out here, and you're not gonna do anything, you're not gonna amount to much, you're still not gonna be able to make money, and you're never gonna be able to come up. And I had a lot of these voices around me. So when it goes back to thinking about what were some of the things that I experienced the most, I would say it was that I remember my self-esteem just being really just low. I remember struggling a lot with because I was such a young girl when I got incarcerated. I think it just had a huge impact in every sense in my identity and how I looked at myself. And I kind of just labeled myself as everybody else did. Everybody else labeled me as a failure, as someone that had lost everything and their life was just over, and I kind of started to believe that at first. And this is the reason why I did have to make a lot of changes. I'll share some of the changes that helped me get out of that mindset and away from a lot of people that that weren't adding to my success, or they weren't betting on me, they weren't believing in me. Somebody asked me, like, what happened, like, after you were released? Like, did you stay in the same environment? Did you hang around with the same people? And I would say that yes, I did. And you know why? Because I think that you kind of want to be around people that understand you and that are not going to judge you, because maybe they're doing the same things, like they're messing up in the same ways, you know what I mean? Yo pienso que el agua sí busca su corriente. And as long as you have that same mentality, as long as your mind frames the same and you don't make an effort to change that, you're gonna keep following the wrong crowds. This is why a lot of times, like, even statistics, man, how many people end up going back to prison? Because if I had to really just like sum it up, man, I would say that once you've been incarcerated, there is no way you can get out and be the same person. There is no way at all. I mean, maybe if you do a little county time, like a few months, maybe 6-8 months, but man, any time after that, I think there's especially if you go to prison, it's different. It's different. I think the impact that it has in you is just so big. It changes who you are completely. Especially, like I said, myself, when I was so young, and you're still developing. You're still being shaped into who you're gonna be eventually in life. So you imagine, like, it's like kids, right? I mean, you put them around this environment and they pick up everything that they're seeing in the way of life. And when you're 17 and you're thrown in a women's prison, doing big time, and this is not like, people don't separate murders, from violent crimes, from like, any type of a different case. You're all in there together, and you're in there, having to live with these strangers, that have done some crazy things. So you're hearing a lot of things, you're learning a lot of things, your eyes are opening up to a lot of things. So you get to see like the first hand how evil the world can be out there. And that's what happened to me. If you've never been around criminals before, and then now you see all these things, man, it changes you. I mean, completely. And I think that's what happened to me. I think after being released, I was just very like, I didn't trust anybody. I was always suspicious of everybody. I remember not having like any social skills. Like I feel like I lost my social skills. Like I was a friendly person before I went into prison. I remember having girlfriends and stuff, and like, kicking it with people and like all that. I mean, I remember being, more, what, I don't think I had ever said this to anybody. Actually, before I do these videos, I have to like sit for like 2 days and kind of just think back, because it's been a lot of years, and I mean, I don't really ever talk to anybody about these things. I mean, it's just like the people close to me, but and these past 2 days I've been like, man, how, just try to go back. And that's one of the things that I do remember changing after I got out of prison. I wasn't as friendly. I didn't care to make friends. I didn't care to connect whatsoever. I was always just watching my back. I felt like I had to just constantly be like on the lookout. It's this huge mistrust. I think that's the word for it. I just couldn't. I couldn't come around to just. You don't have like that healthy mindset anymore. Look, y'all, to be honest, even before prison, I was already having a hard time with my emotions, with my feelings, and with just a lot of things that I was going through in life. I was already, going through depression. I was already, very suicidal. I actually had 2 suicide attempts before I was 16. So I was going through a lot. And then I added a few years of prison to that. And then I added deportation, 2 deportations, and having my baby in prison. So you can imagine how much I was already carrying, like and just, it was just a lot. So I think going to prison and being deported and just everything, if you know my story, it was just way too much. It was just way too much for me. I think after that, I think I just completely shut down. I had huge PTSD. I had a lot of anger issues. I had no tolerance for anything or anybody. I was very I've gone like years without like family members hearing from me. That's how deep it was, man. I think it was because I was like, man, once I get out, like having to live with a lot of women under the circumstances and the tension and the day and night, you get no rest for years. When I finally stepped out, I was like, man, as soon as I'm like able to get out of this place, I'm never again gonna live with people ever. Like, I want to be alone. Like, I want to be alone. I don't want to be around anybody. Nothing, like, at all. I was just like, I wanted like this. I went into this whole like one deep mentality. If I was already feeling a certain way before I went to prison, I think afterwards it was even worse. Like, it was way worse. And I completely isolated. And as soon as I got out, I started working hard so I could get my money and just keep that promise to myself of not having to live with anybody, not having to deal with anybody, not having to have friendships, not having to, I was so like, man, just fed up with life, with people. All I wanted to do was just get high and stay to myself, straight up. And I still struggle with this feeling a lot of times. Keeping it real, yes I do, because I think you can. I think it takes a lot of years to come out of that, and I'm still learning today. I'm not in this absolute place of I'm already here. Ya llegué donde yo quería estar. No, I'm still working a lot. I'm still working on a lot of these things, because for me, it's always easier to isolate and stay away from the bullshit. You know, and stay away from drama, stay away from everything and everybody, any type of noise. And it's just felt comfortable like that. But it's been a bad thing. It hasn't been good, because that's not realistic. You can't live in a world completely isolated. You have to have relationships, you have to have friendships. So it took a long time and a lot of God and a lot of just a lot of things to get me to finally open up again, finally open up myself to trusting people again, finally opening up myself to having a family. Because somebody asked me, what were some of the struggles of having a relationship in Mexico when I wasn't sure if I wanted to stay here. And I was like, man, it wasn't just about staying here, like straight up, like it was about staying in a relationship, period. Like, it was hard for me to even be married. I mean, that sounds terrible, but it's the truth. That's how I felt. I just felt like I couldn't handle any more pain. And because I seen so much pain around marriage and just a lot of hurt and just my perception of men was just completely twisted. I did not know how to have a healthy relationship at all whatsoever. I couldn't even have a healthy relationship with myself. I was sure as hell wasn't going to have a healthy relationship with anybody. This is why it's a complete miracle that today God has given me the chance to have a husband, a great husband, and just beautiful, healthy kids. And when I say healthy in the mind and everything, because if it would have just been me, man, like if it would have just been me without God's help in my life, I would have not had what I have today. If I wouldn't have changed, oh my God, I always do this with my story times. If God wouldn't have healed so much in me, I don't think I would have been able to have what I have today. I wouldn't have been able to keep it. I would have just completely missed having everything that God has given me. And I don't have a lot of riches, and I repeat clothes a lot, and I use regular t-shirts from Walmart and I don't have all these things. But man, when I tell you that I'm just so blessed to have everything that I have now, because I know that in the condition that I got here, in the condition that I got released from prison, I was just, my mind was just, completely unhealthy. I didn't trust anyone. I was paranoid. I was full of self-hate. And eventually with these story times, I'm going to keep talking about this. And I know that it's really vulnerable of me, but I know that someone out there, again, is probably feeling this way. And I've dealt with all these things, and I really do want to come around to sharing how I was able to just walk through them and grow. Because at the end of the day, if you choose to stay the way that you are and you choose to not deal with any of these things, la que la va a sufrir es uno, ¿me entiendes? Tú eres el que la vas a sufrir. You're the one that's gonna have to deal with that pain and that way of living, for the rest of your life. Is it hard to start new? Is it hard to renew your mindset? Yes, it is. It takes years. Years. From the date that I'm telling you to now, 2005 all the way to 2021, and we're still here learning. It takes a one step at a time, but it's completely worth it, because how is God going to give us better if we're not able to take care of that? And in order for us to be able to take care of what God gives us, we have to be in the right place mentally, with ourselves, with the people around us, with everybody. like I said, I learned the importance of just being able to connect. Man, I kid you not. After this, I'm probably going to do a review on that Brene Brown book, Braving the Wilderness. And that, even that book that I recently read, it showed me, how important it is to be able to connect with others around us, and to be able to have healthy relationships, and to be able to be understanding, and to be able to be, and it's just, for me, it's just been a whole journey of growth that no one taught me. There was no programs, upon release that I could go to that could help me, just adjust to life out here. And I didn't have any of that. I literally lived in like pain and misery like for years. For a long time I lived like this, not knowing how to get out of that hole, cuz it feels like that. It feels like you're just stuck in this place and you can't get out. You feel all kinds of feelings. I think after I got done feeling like that is when I started to just really pray to God to help me. Someone that I knew had told me, hey, like, let's go make some easy money. It's gonna be quick, and kind of just sweet talking me into it. But at the time, I remember really just wanting to do things right. And I remember sitting outside the house, and it was this ghetto ass house that at the time I was staying in. And I just couldn't afford anything better. And I remember just sitting outside one day praying to God. I said, God, please, like, please, I don't want to go do anything like that. I don't want to go make no fast money. Like, just, please give me a sign that you want me to do things right. And I was sitting there praying, and all of a sudden, this man passed by the house, right? He was walking by the house, and he was selling newspaper. And I remember like just opening up the newspaper, and the first thing I see is like this ad of a job where they needed like bilingual, people or whatever. And it was gonna be like at this hospital, and I was gonna work. It was for like this surgeon. And I was like, man, well, I'm gonna go. And if it's God really not wanting me to do bad, if God really wants me to, walk right, and if God really wants me to do things right, He's gonna open up doors. And when I got there, because it was an office job, everybody was like dressed all nice, and I'm sure their Spanish was so much better. Even though I did have English, you still have to know proper Spanish, right? So I was just like, man, I was sitting there still probably, I don't remember if, man, during them days, everything was cloudy. And I remember, I don't even know if I knew how to dress for something like this, because I remember back in the day wearing just nothing but just like sneakers and like loose, clothes sometimes, or just, I wasn't looking anything fancy. So I don't even know how it was that I showed up to the interview, but I remember getting that job, and I couldn't believe it. And I said, man, this is really God wanting me to do things right. So after that, I just started taking baby steps, like towards like moving forward. A couple years later, I met my husband, and even though I was still going through a lot of this, I was trying to do better. Even though I still didn't know how to control my emotions, I didn't know how to control my thoughts. I didn't have a good perception of life. I didn't have a healthy, self-image. I still had a lot of depression. I still had suicidal thoughts. Like, even though I was still struggling with all these things, there was still like a strong will in me to do right and be better. So this is how I was able to, start a relationship with my husband. And we met in church. So we're just both there because we really wanted to leave the bad life. Like, we were both coming from doing bad things, in his own way, and he's not no, fancy dude or nothing like that. He knows the streets very well, and he knows the lifestyle really well. And we were just both like, we didn't have an education, we didn't have money, we didn't have, we were just so young and dumb and just crazy in a lot of ways. Speaking for myself first, right? Because straight up, like, I don't even know, y'all, excuse my fridge. I'm right next to it. So it was a lot of that during that time. But again, we had that will to do things right. And there was, my first years of marriage were crazy. Like they were crazy. Again, I did not know how to have a healthy relationship with anybody. I didn't care. I didn't care to have a relationship with his family. Isolation for me was better. If I didn't have to go and like be around people, and because I carried so much shame, I experienced a lot of rejection. So in my mind, I felt rejected before people even got to know me. I was already feeling like, man, they're not gonna accept me for who I am, because I'm just this person that, that's been incarcerated, and maybe my tone of voice is a little too rough, and I just did not know how to just, I didn't know how to have like that, you know what I mean, with people. I just didn't know how. And a lot of people, close to my husband and I took it as she's crazy, or she's weird, or she's bipolar, or she's a bitch, or she's this, or she's that, or judged a lot. I've had a lot of judgment in my life, and now I don't mind it anymore, because I would understand why people would, because it's not something that's socially acceptable, especially in the Mexican culture. I feel like we're expected to, be a certain way, and I wasn't that person, and another reason why I stayed away. So I had to learn a lot of things. It took a lot of mistakes to get, to move forward, but I think they're necessary in order to move on, and that's how it was for me. Journaling has been a big part of my healing journey. I remember about 5 or 6 years back, God led me to start journaling every single experience that I had, lived through, and how it made me feel. And I would cry a lot. I think I locked myself away for about 2 months, and in 2015. I think out of just like desperation, I think I was just praying to God to really just help me, because even going to church, because we used to go to church regularly, and this is not in no way to offend anybody and at all whatsoever, but I think a lot of times in church we're kind of rushed through things, and I think that's what happened with me, and I'll be sharing that in another story time about my experience with church and all that. But church did help in a lot of ways, but in a lot of other ways it didn't. So I think it was just one of those things where it was just me and God, and just long nights writing, and just getting it all out, and forgiving myself. And little by little, I felt like I started like lifting a lot of weight off of me, you know what I mean, like a lot of things that I have probably already forgot. Like when I make these videos, sometimes it happens, like things that I just forgot about, God really just started like just quitándome bastante peso de encima, ¿me entiendes? It was like I was carrying something really heavy, and it was just weighing me down. For the past so many years, it's been like every day God just takes something off my back, and he opens up my eyes to new things, and now I can see life differently. Now I can think differently. Now I care to have a relationship with people. Now I care to do things that back then I would have been like, shoot. Back then, man, I was no establisher of peace at all. Like, I used to tell you off real quick. I was never the person to go out there and look for trouble. I was never like messy or like I hate that. This is the reason why I've stayed away from people, because I'm like, man, people equal drama. Like in my mind, people equal drama, and it's still hard for me to do this, but slowly, like little by little, I feel like I'm getting there, you know what I mean? Like I feel like, okay, well, maybe we can do this. Like maybe we can come out the shell, and interact. And this happens even sometimes when I get messages on Instagram or Facebook, and they're really heartfelt messages, and I read them, and I'm just like, oh my God, they touch me so much. I mean, from everybody that sends me messages. But sometimes my response is like, oh my God, thank you. You're just short. And I just wish I could say more, but I have a hard time with that. With expressing myself, or, you know what I mean? It's still something, again, that I'm working, on. So it's definitely been a journey. I still journal a lot. I actually, you know what, you guys, I'm gonna be sharing, a lot of what I've learned throughout these past few years. But I think truly, I think like the past year, 2020, like I was journaling before 2020, but man, like come 2020 and things just completely changed, like completely changed. And now it's just, I feel even better than I did before that. So for sure, I've been learning a lot of things. I do want to come around to sharing more of how I've taken step by step to, you know, be better and move forward, because it takes a lot of work. It takes years of work. You know, it takes years of work, and it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of, you know, bravery. And someone said, what's some advice that you would give to people after being released? And I would just say that you may go through a lot of what I mentioned at the beginning. You may go through a lot of people, you know, not believing in you or trying to put you down or this or that. But I would say, because we're so vulnerable when we get out, even to the opinions of others, because we're just such in a low point in our lives, in a very critical point in our lives. I would say that, you know, if you really have no support system around you and it's just you and God, you know, to write it out alone, you know, just never stop believing in yourself and never stop believing that you can make changes. Even if you mess up afterwards, even if this is like your third, fourth, fifth time doing time, man, look, if God's mercies are new every single morning. So every single day he gives us a new chance to start over. So if absolutely no one around you believes that you're going to do, you know, your best this time, and that you're going to change things around for yourself and then for others around you, if no one does, you know, you believe in yourself. Believe that you know, things can change for the better, no matter how much, you know, things are against us, because we feel like we're fighting against, you know, the stigma. We're fighting against, you know, having a record and this and that, and like all these obstacles come. And I know it may feel like, man, it's not gonna happen. But if we take baby steps towards the right, you know, direction every single day, we're gonna get there. Eventually we are, and we're gonna be able to prove ourselves first that we did it. I would say, don't ever make the mistake of proving anybody wrong, because people own their opinions. You know, opinions, that's theirs. You know, there's nothing you can do about that. You have to get right with you first. You have to believe that you're worth it. You have to believe that, you know what I mean, that you can come up and that you can achieve goals and that you can get places. Because, man, people, la gente es gente, and you know, unless it's people that you really care about, like your husband, your wife, you know, your kids. But other than that, I would say that you prove yourself right, and, you know, just work every single day. Set realistic goals to get to where you want to be. And that's my best advice. Surround yourself with the right people. It's really important that we do that, like when we first get released, because if not, we'll just end up in this vicious cycle of going back to prison. And a lot of people even expect that from us. A lot of people expect us to go back. I went back after 5 months, after I said I would never go back. So it does take real changes, but I think it takes one step at a time, for sure. I had to do that for a long time. I stopped seeing everybody. I stopped seeing everybody for a long time, but then eventually I feel like God has slowly, little by little, built up that tolerance and changed my mind to where I can now be around people that still have an idea of me. That's something else that I want to add. Some people have already made up their mind about you. To somebody, we're always going to be something. And you have to make peace with the fact that you may be labeled for the rest of your life. As long as you're set, it'll be all right. I think my last advice would be to talk about it. Like if you don't want to journal, if you don't want to go to church, if you don't want to, you know, see a priest, like if you don't want to do any of these things, find somebody, you know, that you can talk to about this, to just get it out of your system. Never stop trying to do better, to heal, to move forward, because a lot of times, because we don't deal with these things, it's harder for us to move forward. If our mindset's still the same, it's very, you know, it's very likely that we're gonna be in the same spot as we are right now. But if we work towards, changing our mindset and really just, if you're a believer, man, and really really allowing God to come in and really just help you and strengthen you when you're weak. And this is not this whole journey of moving forward and starting your life over after something so tragic and so deep like that. If you're blessed to be able to do that, if you're blessed to be able to start over, man, it's a blessing from God. And run with it and do your best and heal if you have to and do what you have to do. So for in this video, I just wanted to answer a few questions that I got, and one of them was if I have an indefinite ban from the States. I have a lifetime ban. I can't go back to the States. I mean, I could, I guess, but I would have to work around. I would have to just hire a new lawyer and just keep working on it. And that's something that I've kind of just given up on. I mean, I have given up on it because I feel like my life settled here. And one of the things about moving forward has been that I've stopped thinking about the past. I've let the past go. I try to just live, my life where God wants me to be. And I feel like I stopped holding on to something that's just no longer there. And for me personally, that's been part of maybe that healing journey that I'm telling y'all about, where I no longer like desire things that I used to have, because now I have much greater things that God has given me and that I just, I treasure with all my heart. And I just couldn't imagine my life being different. Maybe, you know what, honestly, I do think about moving, but it would be like somewhere within, the country. Like I don't think about moving anywhere else. Like I don't that's not part of what I see in my future. But yes, I would say yes, that I have a lifetime ban. Anyways, guys, so I'm gonna close this up. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, or shared with someone that you know, please do so. Thank you for watching, you guys. Stay blessed. Bye.